Hey, good morning. I'm Patricia Murphy. It's Thursday. This is Seattle Now. I know it feels like forever, but we are really just days away from the first Men's World Cup match in Seattle. It's finally time for kickoff. Are you ready? Seattle Now sports correspondent Vaughan Jones is here to tell you what you need to know and how you can get in the spirit. But first, let's get you caught up. A new state law aimed at driving down the cost of prescription drugs takes effect today. It bolsters a federal program that gives some safety net hospitals a discount on drug prices. Several pharmaceutical companies filed a lawsuit saying it would cost them millions, but this week a federal court upheld Washington's new law. The Washington State Standard reports the new law will help Harborview and UW Medicine save millions of dollars. Just in time for those World Cup crowds, SeaTac Airport's new and improved Sea Concourse opens today. The new space has 4 floors, 11 restaurants, and an outdoor patio where you can watch planes take off and land. The Seattle Times reports the renovation cost nearly $400 million. It's meant to address future overcrowding concerns. A recent estimate from the state says yearly travel demand will surpass 100 million people by the year 2050. Right now, SeaTac and Payne Field can support fewer than 70 million. And the Denny Blaine Park court case could wrap up today. A King County Superior Court judge has been hearing arguments about whether to close the nude beach. Last year, a group of neighbors sued the city of Seattle, alleging illegal activity like drug use and lewd behavior. For decades, the nude beach has been a popular gathering space for the LGBTQ community, who say those allegations are atypical. Closing arguments are expected today. We're back with more headlines on tonight's episode of Seattle Now. The World Cup is just around the corner. The crowds may not be as large as we expected, but Seattle is still putting out the welcome mat in person and on TVs across the world. A lot has changed here and across the U.S. since Seattle was announced as a host city in 2022. Still, the show must go on. Here in Seattle, it kicks off on Monday. This is it. Go time, Seattle. Seattle Now sports correspondent Vaughan Jones is here to get you prepared for the big event. Vaughan, thank you for being here.
The pleasure's all mine.
So let's start with the basics. Where and when are the Seattle matches being played?
Yeah, let's go through the calendar here just in case people might not be familiar. The first one is on Monday, June 15th. That is Belgium versus Egypt at noon. Later that week, Friday, June 19th. That's the really big one. That's Team USA versus Australia. That's also at noon. Wednesday, June 24th, Bosnia and Herzegovina versus Qatar is at noon. And Friday, June 26th, Egypt versus Iran is at 8 p.m. We have 2 knockout matches, Wednesday, July 1st and Sunday the 6th. We do not know who is playing in those yet. That all comes down to how the footy shakes out, as it were. All of these are being played at Seattle Stadium. The gates for all of those noon games, so the first 3 matches, open at 9 a.m., which means people are likely going to want to get there early. So just a heads up.
Man, that is going to mean something for my morning commute. I can't believe they're playing these matches in the middle of the day, Vaughan. How is this going to show up for me just trying to get to work? Yeah,
this is something that local officials have definitely been thinking about. If we're going to be seeing more people and people are going to get to the stadiums during peak commute time in the morning, we're going to need a plan. Sound Transit CEO Dow Constantine says they have a plan. This is Dow at the Know Before You Go transit presser that happened last month.
Operationally, on game days, we will increase service on the 1 and 2 lines. So we'll be running 8-minute service on all the lines all evening long, and that means 4-minute service all day long from the International District to Linwood.
So for the light rail, they recommend if you're coming from the north, use the Pioneer Square station to get off. If you're coming from the south, use the Stadium stop. And if you're coming from the east on the 2 line, use the CID stop. Also, all bikes and scooters are prohibited on the light rail on FIFA match days. This is to reduce crowding, so get ready to find a spot in the bike locker if you ride your bike to take the light rail in the morning. King County Metro is also increasing bus frequency on match days, as well as expanded water taxi service for Vashon Island and West Seattle. Mayor Katie Wilson says, plan ahead, leave early, and use transit whenever you can to avoid car traffic. Parking is another big issue. If you work in the downtown area, it will likely be very hard or very expensive for you to park, arrive early, or take transit. One thing that actually will help the flow of traffic is the construction pause. There's a city-wide construction pause until mid-July, including the big Revive I-5 project that has been ruining a lot of people's commutes. You can use this information if you're going to the matches that I just told you, but you can also use it as a way to get around without running into any of the crowds in the city.
Honestly, I have noticed the construction let-up has really, really helped the traffic flow. And I think, I can't confirm this, Sound Transit is definitely running more trains in the morning. It seems like they're showing up like every 2 minutes. What a shocker, though, about the scooters and bikes not being allowed on Sound Transit trains during match days.
Yeah, this is a really big deal. I mean, obviously, we've all had that experience where we're, going to or leaving a Mariners game or a big event, a concert, something like that, and someone walks on with their bike and everybody rolls their eyes a little bit because you have to really clear the way and get them the space so they can put it up on the rack. No bikes, no scooters.
That's a whole situation. I don't even know how they're going to enforce that, Vaughan Jones. Okay, I don't want to be a downer here, but there have been a lot of stories about lagging hotel numbers. What did you learn about how many visitors we can expect?
I think it's very fair to say that the initial number, 750,000 people in Seattle, was really, really optimistic. Much has changed since those projections were originally presented in 2024, but I think even if things stayed the same, 750,000 was the most optimistic projection we could have had. I talked to Anthony Antone, the CEO of Washington's Hospitality Association this week. His purview is restaurants and hotels, two industries that are massively impacted by World Cup travel. He says where we are is where we are.
So I think at this point, people are anticipating just a good summer. This isn't going to be 7 Super Bowls or 7 Taylor Swift concerts, but it doesn't mean that's bad.
Travel consultation guide Sojourn is saying that flight bookings to Washington State are down 20% year over year from this time last year, and hotel bookings are down 7%. Not a great sign. Hotels and local restaurants were hoping for this to be sort of a golden goose. It doesn't look like it's going to be that. The countries playing in Seattle also adding to this tourism struggle. You'd expect countries like England, Japan, Brazil, South Korea, Germany to travel in droves to North America. And as of right now, we don't know who's playing in July, but none of those teams are playing here. The ones we do have are not necessarily historical, like international soccer greats. I would expect Australia to maybe be the biggest draw, but they're playing Team USA here, so the tickets are more expensive, and people might opt to see Australia in other cities. On the flip side, let's turn the coin around. This means that locals can still get into matches and have this whole experience. If the city isn't inundated with 750,000 visitors, that means you have more opportunities to take advantage of these things. In that same vein, I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility that people in our geographic region, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, some parts of Canada, view a last-minute trip to Seattle for the World Cup as something that's actually attainable for them. Summer's also usually just a good time to visit Seattle in general, so people might just be here to be here.
I'm really excited because maybe in this moment, it's a great opportunity to see some world-class soccer being played. What if I am a local just figuring out, I think I'm going to take advantage of this. Can I still get tickets? What will I have to spend?
Yes, it's been a weird process to get tickets to the World Cup for sure. I remember getting stonewalled at the Visa credit card holder presale and just sort of kind of giving up after that. As of today, we're taping this on Wednesday. The cheapest price to get into any of our local matches is June 24th, Bosnia and Herzegovina versus Qatar match. And the get-in price, that's the lowest possible ticket you can get, according to a website called ticketdata.com, is $238. That's expensive. But for an international soccer match, probably some of the best that you can get. I will also mention ESPN is reporting Iran's Football Federation claims that tickets set aside for Iranian fans for their June 15th match in LA have been revoked. Each country competing is supposed to get 8% of stadium capacity to sell to fans in those countries, and they're claiming theirs was taken away. We're not sure whether that's impacting Seattle, but that is something to monitor. This whole ticket situation has just been very strange. Best of luck on the resale market if you would like to get in.
Wow. Okay. So that will probably need to be investigated. All right, Vaughan, where else can people gather to watch the games, especially if it's cheap or free? Because that's my price.
Yeah, some people are going to be watching on a celebration barge, but you can also watch for free at Pier 62 on the waterfront. Other local free watch parties are also being put on by the city in different public parks, community centers, that kind of thing. Our friends at KEXP are doing watch parties at their Queen Anne gathering space. Free to get in, and there's a Cafe Vita in there if you need a little bit of a pick-me-up. Bars around the city are allowed to show the World Cup during normal business hours at no cost, as long as they don't charge you to get in. So take a look at some of the iconic soccer bars around the city: Atlantic Crossing, Rhine House, Rough and Tumble. But one of the city's most iconic soccer bars, George and Dragon in my neighborhood in Fremont, is trying to get its liquor license back ahead of the games. Talk about stoppage time. That's for my soccer fans out there.
They still don't have a license.
Still not. We're still waiting.
Oh, my gosh. Okay. All right. Good luck, George and Dragon. How else can people get in the soccer spirit, Vaughan, or find places to get together with visitors?
Yeah, the city of Seattle is promising 100+ soccer events citywide in the next few weeks, including indoor and outdoor watch parties, youth soccer jamborees, that sounds like a riot, and cultural events. Occidental Mall in Pioneer Square, look out for this giant screen for watch parties. There's some music, including DJ Shaq Diesel, the tallest DJ in the world, drag shows, a beer garden, so a fun vibe there. I'll throw a link in the show notes to the local organizing committee's celebrations page. It'll help you kind of find the vibe you want, whether it's a big crowd or it's something a little bit more chill. Be on the lookout for the small stuff, though, to get you in the soccer spirit. Little soccer-themed decorations around the city, the flukes, the whale tail decorations, Megan Rapinoe's voice on the light rail. We're just going to be very soccer-pilled for the next few weeks.
All right, well, let's talk about security concerns. I saw SPD has an anti-drone setup. Mayor Katie Wilson also made a big announcement last week. Who is in charge of security during these matches?
Yes, the announcement from Mayor Katie Wilson is that she is turning CCTV cameras on after requests from Councilmember Rob Saka in the Stadium District. Wilson says she met with local law enforcement and that there are credible threats enough to turn the cameras on by the stadiums. She's received some pushback from constituents and other city council members on this, but it's going forward. The Seattle Chamber of Commerce has a preventing human trafficking guide for hospitality groups. That seems to be a really major concern. SPD's budget said they spent $750,000 on things like cameras and traffic barriers specifically marked for the World Cup. In 2024, the local organizing committee said they were already in communication with federal organizations about safety. The Seattle Times is reporting that police agencies in Washington state altogether got about $30 million, most of which is going to go to operational overtime. They say it will take hundreds of officers to keep things safe around here. I'll also note that the Washington State Standard says the $30 million given to Washington is the, quote, lowest by far of any of the host cities. And as you mentioned, another major focus, deterring drone traffic. SPD got some fancy new machinery for that.
All right, well, it's been a bit of a roller coaster for local businesses. How are they thinking about the next few weeks? And as a patron, should I be prepared to wait in line?
Yeah, potentially. I think when it comes to local businesses, they are trying to welcome the world in interesting ways. Again, I talked to Anthony Antone from the Washington Hospitality Association, and he said they're trying to get creative for different guests from different countries.
There's a lot of people who are thinking about menu translations. I think there's a lot of people thinking about making sure, we are aware of people's food customs as different folks come in.
The Seattle Chamber of Commerce put out a guide for local restaurants that has to do with, again, as Anthony mentioned, sort of food and dining culture, tipping, drinking. To use an example, we're going to host Belgium. The guide talks about Belgium. People from there may like longer, more social meals. Their drinking age is 16 for beer and wine and 18 for hard liquor, so be sure to check IDs if people are ordering beer and wine, especially at the restaurant. And you may have to remind them of tipping etiquette. They suggest, here's a quote from the Seattle Chamber of Commerce, for a server to tell an international visitor. In the U.S., tipping makes up a big part of service staff wages. Leaving 15 to 20% is a good way to show appreciation for the staff. So I think the way that local businesses are thinking about this is, hey, let's give them an experience that makes them feel comfortable enough to maybe break their own tipping norms and help some of our servers out. So I wouldn't say you're going to be inundated with super long lines, unless maybe you run into some Belgians who like a longer dining experience.
All right, well, we can't change the state of the world right now, but we can try to put our best footy forward. Do you have any ideas for locals?
Yes. When we first sat across from each other to talk about the World Cup in
all those years ago.
Yeah, April 2024 was the first episode where we did a World Cup chat, you and I. it's really hard to conceptualize just how much things have changed since then.
Yeah.
The U.S. has had a presidential election. They've started a war against one of the countries playing here in Seattle, Iran. These are massive geopolitical shifts. The political environment here in the United States, not just in Seattle, but in the United States as a whole, is a deterrent for some people. I think the energy I've gotten from interviews I've done lately is just, like you said, putting your best foot forward is really the best thing that we can do. We have to understand that these massive changes are enough to make people not want to be here. And for those that do, give some directions, clink glasses at a bar during a match, recommend your favorite restaurant, show them a Seattle spirit, maybe tell them how to go whale watching, something like that. Show them the Seattle spirit and help them make a memory, because we are going to be welcoming the world, maybe not nearly as much as we thought we were going to be, but there are still people who are getting their first impression of our city.
All right, that sounds like good advice for any day, Vaughan Jones. Vaughan Jones, Seattle Now sports correspondent. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Vaughan, you going to a match?
No, like I said, I got stonewalled at the Visa presale, and I've just sort of given up on trying to get in there. I'm going to try to be around the city and take in some of the energy, though. I'm looking forward to that.
All right. Thanks for listening to Seattle Now. Here's our pitch for you. Give us an assist, rate and review the show on your favorite podcast app, and pass this podcast to a friend. Today's episode was produced and reported by Vaughan Jones. It was edited by Caroline Chamberlain Gomez. Our production team also includes Andy Hurst, Brooklyn Jamerson Flowers, and Paige Browning. Greg Kramer does our theme music. Seattle Now and KUOW Public Radio are members of the NPR network. I'm Patricia Murphy. Talk to you tonight for Evening Headlines.